Hello, valued audience. Welcome to Elevate Your Business, where we delve into the core of business success and discuss the tactics that pave the way to victory. I'm your host, Ed Jarecki, and it's a pleasure to have you join us. Our show is dedicated to enlightening and equipping business owners, professionals, and aspiring entrepreneurs like you with essential knowledge and advice from experts who have achieved success in their life and business. Today's guest exemplifies this mission. So make yourself comfortable, unwind, and let's extend a hearty greeting to our esteemed guest today, Brian Esposito. Brian is the founder and CEO of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, LLC. He has over 2 decades of experience cultivating a vast network of connections, fostering partnerships across a multitude of sectors, such as beauty, fashion, technology, and entertainment. EIE is renowned for its efficient and realistic approach to creating opportunities and helping individuals achieve their aspirations. Brian and his team at EIE understand the significance of relationships and business success and are dedicated to showing their extensive network to support others' dreams. Recognizing time as our most valuable asset, Brian is committed to making every moment in the pursuit of flourishing ventures and meaningful collaborations. As Brian joins us on the show, he'll shed light on what success means to him personally and how his definition has evolved over time, as well as one or two of his key challenges and the lessons learned associated with them. And finally, for today, we'll explore how Brian has leveraged innovation in his business to work through challenges and achieve his goals. So join me in welcoming Brian Esposito as we embark on another incredible episode of Elevate Your Business. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Brian. So much appreciate you being on the show. You have an incredible background. Could you share a little bit more about yourself and your business?
Yeah, of course, and I appreciate the intro. It's always humbling to hear some of the accomplishments. I never look backwards, really, when you think of what you can do over 2 decades of just constantly working. It can be overwhelming when you think about it. But I've always been an entrepreneur, even as a teenager, out hustling, earning, always finding ways to bring value, create earnings, and I love the idea of sharing those earnings with others and creating opportunities for others. So that's been my consistent model since I can remember. So yeah, present day, it's, as you mentioned, quite a extensive holdings in my holding company. It's over 110 companies. There's over 200 joint ventures around the world, proudly operating in over 25 different industries. So that's the arsenal that I've built and cultivated. And I look at it as a one-stop shop for exceptional IP, technology, products, solutions, and services. Honored to put a phenomenal management in place to run and push these companies forward, and then give those teams and those companies the support they need from great legal, accounting, compliance, and regulatory, my network, and meeting wonderful people like you, and being out there in the world and working and understanding markets and seeing where the need is, and then going back to what we have and finding the need. And if we don't have it in our ecosystem, then going out and properly building it. So there's never an endless need to fill. So that's where it gets exciting, and that's why it continues to evolve and it continues to grow, and we continue to be leaders in industries, and especially now with the whole idea of tokenization. That's been something I've been focused on over the last 10 years, and implementing those technologies into our companies and understanding that's the future of digital assets and a new asset class in your portfolio. So how do we participate in that market? How do we create our own technologies and not rely on others to bring value to our own holdings? And how do we use that to be leaders in the space and properly navigate people that want to work with us on how to get into that space? So there's a lot going on. Thankfully, it took me, again, 20-something years to figure a lot of this out. It took me 20 plus years to remove toxic people from my inner circle to ensure that we have a really sound machine and just really good, humble people, ethical people, wonderful leaders and team members that have great integrity. Those are the major traits that I look for. Money's secondary to that. I don't care if we can make $1 billion together. If we don't align on some core principles, we're not working together, and you're not coming into the world that I've created.
Those behavioral characteristics, those personal attributes that you describe, it's one of the things that, connected with me immediately because I value those so much and can only congratulate you for what you've been able to accomplish so far. So through that journey, my first question, what is your definition of success today?
Oh, it's a great question. And I've had the same answer since I've first been asked this a long time ago. My definition of success is going through life not hurting anybody. Now, if for some reason that you did, whether it was maliciously or unintentionally, do what you can to make it right. To me, that's a successful person. That's someone that has empathy, someone that cares about humanity. And I do believe the byproduct of being wired that way is a privileged life, whether it's good health surrounded by love and support, maybe it's financial success. The reward or the karma gift that you get back isn't always identified as one specific gift, but it can be across multiple things. And when you look at your life and you look at maybe some of the blessings that you have, and we are all very blessed compared to vast amount of people around this world that don't have homes, don't have consistent food, don't have consistent clean fresh water. And we can get caught in the moment of thinking that we're not blessed. But if you're listening to this, you have time to listen to this, so you're blessed. Or you have a phone or some sort of device that you can listen to, and you paid your bill, and maybe you're eating a snack. So think about all the things that you're actually doing in this moment. And I think about billions of people that don't have those privileges. So once in a while, we have to have a little gut check as to where we are and the great things that we're accomplishing.
Well, I love that definition. And I know in raising my children, one of the things that we did is when we visit different places, we just didn't visit the touristy places. We went behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And boy, is there a contrasting difference between the life we have the ability to live here in the United States and the life that so many others around the world don't have. So absolutely incredible. Normally, my question at this point goes back to how has the definition of success changed? You've already answered that. So I'm going to shift my question a little bit and ask, how have you seen your philosophy as you've employed making it right? How have you seen that manifest itself?
Well, consistency, I think, is key in human nature. And hopefully it's consistency in your own behavior in good, right? And we're all flawed. We all have evolution that we need to accomplish and become the best versions of ourselves. But 9 out of 10 times, I get feedback of people in rooms that I had dealings with that were in a different meeting. I wasn't even involved, and my name came up. And there's been somebody in that room that is a cheerleader for me because they know my character. They know I always try to do the right thing. And they know if something goes sideways or there's a timetable delay in expectations, that there's good communication and that, hey, what's going to happen is going to happen, and it's going to just trust me on it, and we're going to get there. So as long as I'm breathing and I have a heartbeat, I always do what I say I'm going to do. And that's the consistency. Sometimes, again, the confusion or the frustration could be different timetables and expectations between the two people, two or more people that are communicating. So for me, it's been that version of always doing the right thing, because that's just in my DNA, and always trying to consistently have that character. And when you operate like that in your personal and your professional life, it's something that it's factual, it's tangible. So when your name comes up, or someone wants to do a reference check on you, whatever may happen where your name comes up in a different room or a different conversation, because of your traits and because of your actions, there's somebody there to praise that. And then there may be jealous people that just maybe not want you to do well, and they're there to slander you and do you harm. You have no control over that. It should be zero amount of your energy in your tank and your focus. That's on them. That's that person's insecurity and that person's issues. But as long as you're always doing the right thing and always trying to correct anything that may have went sideways, you've got a good brand in the market. And that's what we are. We're brands. And sometimes a brand has an issue in the market. Sometimes there's some sort of a return, or it has a recall. Us as human beings, sometimes we have a recall. We got to go back inside ourselves and say, what do we need to fix? What did I do wrong? You can never blame other people for your actions and what has happened to you and the reactions that have come back. Everything that we do in our life is on us. And whatever comes back into our life as far as the road or the journey that we're on, if you're always pointing at other people to be the blame for where you may or may not be in your journey, then you need to look inward and think, what am I doing that's causing me not to be on the path or where I thought I'd be at this point in my life? And once you can come to terms with that and really start to work on yourself as a human being and start to understand that we do have control over our lives and we do have control over the experiences that we're exposed to. And when you can figure that out and focus on what you can control and ignore what you can't control, you really can accomplish a lot. And I think you'd have a lot better life.
Absolutely wonderful explanation, and something that we should all be aspiring to. None of us are perfect. I know I try every day to be the best person I can be, but I can tell you mess up. And then
Of
it's
course.
about what do I do to fix that? And that's always on my mind. So I definitely appreciate that reinforcement. And to our viewers out there, it's a never ending journey to constantly assess ourselves and to figure out what we need to do next and to try to aspire to that vision of being the best version of us that we can be. Is that a fair way to
Much
put that?
more simpler and powerful way than I spent the last 5 minutes saying it. So, yes, you nailed it, Ed. Absolutely nailed it.
Well, in your explanation up front, you started to describe it has been a journey, ridding yourself of some of the toxic players in your organization. What are one or two of those key challenges and the associated lessons learned?
The biggest challenge is we have a conscience, right? And some of those decisions could seem very cold because they may be lifelong friends. It could be family members. It could be a romantic partner. It could be somebody that's really close to you. And because you have this idea of who you want them to be or who you expect them to be, there's always this patience, I guess you can say. But if anybody in your life is causing you any stress or anxiety or angst, I'm very sensitive to that. And I think as I've been through a lot of life's lessons, I've been through a very bad near death experience. So when you have that, you really have this moment of, wow, it could be over in a second. So when you think like that, and you should think without hurting people, you should have a selfish mentality that I deserve to be happy. And again, that's to be said with the disclaimer, by not hurting or taking advantage of people. We all deserve to be happy. We all deserve to find joy throughout our day or our evening at some point, at some capacity. And if there's anybody in that day that is causing you to not have joy, it could be a boss, it could be a colleague. I mean, the list is extensive. I'm not somebody you have a really short moment with, maybe in a grocery store. That's not someone that's consistently in your life. But if you have anybody that's constantly there, that's a drain, or they just an energy sucker, or they make you feel bad, or because a lot of people, even myself included, have this empath type of energy where I take on other people's burdens. They don't necessarily give it to me, but I feel it. I want to help them, and I bring it on me. And every time you do that, you lose a little bit of why are you here? And there's only so much energy in our tanks for the day. So if it's being depleted by all these other people or experiences, or you're not happy or passionate about where you are in your life or what you're doing or your occupation, you got to sit down for a moment and take stock into what adds joy and value to your life, what doesn't, and find ways to carefully remove what doesn't, maybe put them on a timeout. You don't have to completely cut it out like a cancer. But for me, there have been people that I had to, I hate to say it like this, but you're dead to me. You're dead to me. It does what you do and what you stand for in life does not work for me. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not judging you. That's not my job. For me, it is not working. I tried. I gave it everything I possibly could. You got to go. See you later. And maybe one day our paths will come back, and maybe we'll both be aligned in a much better place where we can actually have a very strong, positive relationship. But in this moment of my life, you got to go.
I'm listening to you share that, and I've been through that myself, and it's easier said than done. So for our audience out there, it is absolutely a key consideration, noting the fact that there are challenges with taking those steps to remove those toxic entities out of our life. But in order to grow, in order to move forward, in order to be happy, it's incredibly important to surround yourself with people that will help you grow, help you be a better person, and eliminate those toxic entities.
Absolutely. And then you start to realize things really start to happen for you because light attracts light. And if you're not dragging all this dead weight and other people's dramas and chaos and frustrations, you'll have this lightness about you and this air about you, and you'll find doors will open for you and opportunities will come your way and wonderful people will come your way because there's this universal connection now, because you don't have this somber darkness, stressed look on your face, because I can read that a mile away. But also your tone is different. You start to feel like you were a kid again, as far as joys start coming out of you. You start to find passions that you forgot about. Your whole life will change. And when people always ask me, how do you manage all these things that I'm involved with? And if you look at it from the outside, it looks like a lot, and it is a lot. but it's not when it's not a day filled of just drama and noise and chaos. When you can eliminate that, there's so much you can accomplish, and there's so much joy and value and self-worth, and you start to realize, wow, I really can make an impact. I really can make a difference when I'm not focused on things that I personally believe that the devil is the one that's involved in this. The devil is the one that's supposed to get you off your path and it's supposed to take you onto a different channel and journey where it's filled with just negativity, evil, anger, and not to keep leveling up. And not to talking about religion or anything, but there's definitely a darkness in our lives and our experiences, and that darkness is very infectious. It's actually stronger than the light. When negativity is just such a powerful animal. And when you're around it, you get consumed in it, and it just festers, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. When you could start to figure out how to remove it, I like to remove it all at once, cut it out like a cancer. But if you're not there yet, if you can start to figure out how to strategically start to get some of this away from you, then you got some good momentum behind you.
Just to reinforce that point, a few weeks ago, I finished a course called Positive Intelligence. And they really talk about the sages and the saboteurs. And we can train our minds to focus on sage, but some of our natural tendencies is to focus on those saboteurs. And those are all the negative, the toxic elements of our life, and the negative feelings of judgment versus discernment, which is the sage side of that thinking. And there's literally scientific evidence that demonstrates that we can train our brain to focus on that positive and the positive paths forward. And the more we do that, the more that becomes our first reaction, not the saboteur side of that desire. And the saboteur is never going to go away.
Never. But we've all been through hell, and we all live in a point in humanity where you can't get away from evil, negative chaos. I don't watch any of the news, but if you even try that for a second, you're just like, your spirit just says, what is going on? You touched on something that was a great point. And I know that I remember thinking I was at some level a self-sabotaging person, because there were so many great opportunities that I think I felt I wasn't ready for. And when you're not surrounded by the right people, that's when it really starts to kick in. You need the supportive people that believe in you, not people that say, oh, you can't do that, or people that maybe are risk adverse. Or you need a really powerful, even if it's one person, somebody there that just gives you that extra oomph, waiting at the race with the cup of water to give you that extra energy to get across the finish line. And if you don't have that and you start to self-doubt yourself, sometimes you can't get out of that. And that's a very vicious cycle to find yourself in, when the universe wants to give you good things. It wants to provide you with opportunities. And if you don't acknowledge them to be valid and real and really part of your journey and not a distraction to take you off the right path, and if you don't take advantage of those opportunities, you don't have a really good support system behind you, you missed a golden opportunity.
Yeah, and just as a quick metaphor for that, a lot of it is, weightlifting, exercising. How do you build strength, momentum? Well, working out with a strong group of people that are going to motivate you. And I know this is true to me, and I've been working out for 40 years. I work out Friday afternoons with my son. When I was doing it myself, I go, well, this is good enough. When I work out with my son and with my other friends, you're energizing each other, You're pumping each other up. And over time, you build your muscle, your cardio capacity at much greater speed, and to much higher levels when you're surrounding yourself with those people that share that ambition, that share that vision.
And the fun part about life, you may meet that person today. That's the crazy thing about life. You may be on some sort of experience today, whether you're at an airport, you're sitting in a bar, you're waiting in line at CVS, not to promote CVS, but you could meet that person today that would change your life, that would be a kindred spirit. And that's the most exciting thing about life. It's not necessarily the people that you were born into or the community that you were raised in. Like, that's all great to have that foundation, but your life can change today, and you can find that rock star to support you today.
I think there are a number of wonderful lessons learned out of that. I'm going to shift our conversation to innovation. And of course, innovation is more than just technology, but in today's day and age, technology is such a core part of change. But the way I encompass it is people, process, technology wrapped within the environment of the culture in which those three entities exist. How have you leveraged innovation to drive success within your businesses?
That's been one of my most painful parts of who I am as an innovator and seeing the need in the market for something, I'm always trying to build it, right? Or always trying to create where I believe the markets are going. And now you look at all the industries that I'm involved with, it's being an innovator times 100. And when you do this, a couple of things. You have to do it. There's so many innovators out there that are afraid to actually do it. They're afraid to file a trademark. They're afraid to put in, some sort of a schematic or a roadmap as to what do they want to create. Then you got to bring in the right people to help support that and actually get it implemented. So there's some processes and steps. So let's just say you're an innovator, you're all in, you're going. The most painful thing for innovators, inventors, visionaries is that being too early. And sometimes being first is the most painful thing. So when you're too early, like I've been since 15 with things that I've developed and technologies that I've created, if the market's not ready for it, well, that's an expensive lesson to keep that alive and keep it vibrant and keep the people that you brought in excited, because everybody wants an overnight success. But when you're way too early, it sucks. It's draining. It's debilitating. You know the world needs it. You know you got something amazing. Then if you actually implement it and you were way too early and you build a little bit of momentum and you got some traction, you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of money, you spend a lot of experiences on what you now brought to the market. Somebody else says that's a hell of an idea and comes to market, copies you with a lot less time, and they maybe tweaked a couple of things to make it a little bit better. The MySpace to Facebook, the Google to Yahoo. So there's always the second ones that come in. There's the Lyft to Uber. I think Lyft is a better experience. So you have different services and offerings and technologies that come to market after you were the first one to bring it there. And you've proven the market. So it's easier for the other group to go out and raise money because they're pointing to you, look what they're doing, and we could do this, and we can have this, and we could be so much bigger because we have this team now and people that want to be in the space thanks to that innovator. So I'm not dissing it. I'm not being negative to it. It is a tough journey. It's a hard journey, but the most important thing about it is that you actually do it. You never want to have a regret in life. If you want to go out and innovate, you want to go out and do something amazing and create something with your name stamped behind it, you got to do it because you don't want to look back one day and say, damn, I should have done that. Thanks to things like LinkedIn, you can really build an amazing team now by connecting with like-minded people that are passionate about the same space that you may want to enter into or that you're working in. And you can create this army together of people that really want to help you succeed and really want to help you push forward. That's where it gets really exciting in today's world. Today is the most magical moment where anybody can go out in the world and actually create something. There's so many tools and resources and opportunities to go out there and do it. It's not like it was 20 plus years ago when I started, not like it was 50 plus years ago when other people started. There's a lot more time, energy, and strategy, and a lot of making mistakes. There's so much information out there. There's so many ways to know the right way to bring something to market. So if you want to do something and you haven't done it yet in your life, this is the perfect time to do it, and the perfect time to do it with a lot less risk. And you can really bring in a lot of great strategies and ideas from other companies and other people that consistently are doing this.
Over the decades, I know through my experience, I'll just say from the 1990s in particular, everything was linear. Everything took an enormous amount of time, and only a few people could really drive that innovation. And today, the difference is everybody in an organization really needs to be an innovator, finding new and better ways, build processes to serve customers, to personalize services and products towards the customers' constantly evolving and changing needs. And so, as I look at the future, do you have any thoughts relative to how innovation is going to continue to manifest itself and shift with even more technologies and more capabilities supporting what you just said? Like LinkedIn, you've got so much more option and opportunity today.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern with the brilliance of us people and how brilliant our brains can be when you really tap into that is where the whole movement of AI is going. And AI is the biggest buzzword right now for companies bringing that in. They're saying they're an AI-focused company. They're out there raising millions of dollars. My disappointment with AI is that I wish it wasn't so fragmented. I wish it was more focused with that amount of money and that amazing use of technology to be positioned more towards how do we use this for providing food for everybody, for clean water for everybody, for clothing for everybody, for affordable housing. Like, it's all over the place. And some of the use cases I'm seeing and companies raising so much money, I'm like, that's what you came up with, utilizing this technology, and you raised $100 million. So I feel like AI is going to stifle people's ability to really utilize their brain and process what we can do as human beings. And I don't want to say it's going to dumb us down, but yeah, I guess it's making people's lives easier. I guess it's making efficiencies and opening up more time. But if you have an idea and you just throw it into these AI engines and just rely on what that came back with as gospel, well, I don't think that's best for our own evolution and becoming more well-rounded, smarter, educated, experienced people. We're just relying on this to give us everything. So big concern of mine, but I'm a technologist at heart. I've always been. So it's awkward for me to say that, right? Because that's the evolution of technology. That's where we're going. I can't stop that. That's where we're going. But I can limit how I'm exposed to it because I don't want to be exposed to that at the level that people are telling me on every call I have. Oh, I use ChatGPT. I threw in this. It gave me this. And I'm like, okay, well, that works for you. I'm not doing it. And it's I feel like maybe I'm the stupid one, but I'm not doing it. I'm not subscribing to that. And I'm sure at some point I'm going to have to do it because it's going to be involved in everything. And I'm not even going to know that I'm using it. That's the way that things continue to progress. But for now, that's the biggest issue I see as far as where we're going to limit our own personal brain power and the things that we could accomplish if we just keep tapping into that rather than tapping into machinery.
One of the responses and one of the thoughts I've shared multiple times on these shows and many other places is that we're still the visionaries. We're still the ultimate creators. And in every business, in every situation, there's a whole lot of pieces and parts. And so it's a mosaic of that vision that we have, and what are the pieces that need to be, how do they need to be shaped, and how do we leverage them and connect them together to drive towards that vision. And I guess and I've been a technologist pretty much my entire life and career as well. And so I see these as pieces and parts, but we still have to architect how they're going to work in order to achieve that vision. And so these
Yeah.
tools just become a mechanism for us to do that. And in order to keep up, we got to adopt some of these practices, or we're going to fall behind those that are leveraging these capabilities to create these pieces and connect them faster than we could do on our own. Any
Yeah.
thoughts with that?
Well, I understand both sides, and I agree sort of both sides. The problem I see as being the architect, that if the data that we're receiving is coming from AI, and that's now what we're processing to be the visionary behind what we need to create, I don't think that's a natural element to make those decisions about. The other point, and I can't disagree with it, and I really can't agree with it, is that humanity will be much better 100 plus years from now because of these types of initiatives. I don't know what to tell people that are living in today, where I am. Humanity being 100 times, I mean, whatever times better 100 years from now, that's great for them if we're here, if a meteor doesn't
Yeah.
wipe us out or whatever happens. But I live in today. I think, Ed, I think you're here with me today, and we're both real people still. This feels real. So with that, I can't get behind that as a true definition, but I do get it. I completely get it, and that's a great theory. But how do we utilize the amount of capital going into that industry? It's massive. That should cure cancer. A fraction of that
Yes.
would feed the entire planet. So it's hard for me to really sign up for, and this is not just picking on AI. There's so many industries that every few years there's a new buzzword. It was Web3 a couple years ago, and now it's AI, and next week it may be something else. So there's
Quantum
always
compute.
something. Yeah, that's exactly. So I just get a little, and I'm a capitalist too, so I understand money coming into an industry. But if money's coming into an industry like AI, and AI is running that entire company, then in the past that company maybe would have hired 1,000 people. But now there's 4 people there because all the efficiencies and everything that it can do and the power that it can create. So you got to look at the whole picture. And I am all about job creation, stability, having people be able to perform and provide some sort of service to give them self-worth. So when you start implementing things that takes that away, and you start dumbing people down because we're not allowing them to utilize their brain to the fullest power anymore because we're relying on technology. I mean, I think the proof is out there as far as where these things have taken us. Yes, they've done great things for connecting humanity and creating the ability to move information around the world. But now we don't know what information is real or not. Thanks to things like AI, we don't know what pictures are real or not. We don't know what videos are real or not. And that's the data that we're processing, to go back to what you said before, to make decisions, to then create things that maybe aren't even needed or the right creation, because we're basing it off of either misinformation or information that we're consuming that's not even fact checked or verified by a human being. It's just put out into the world through these engines.
Yeah, and in fairness to what you say, this is the first generation of technology advancement that I actually do have serious concerns about from multiple perspectives, including the fact that it's enabling the bad actors out there. It's enabling some of the wrong focus on investment versus all the things that you talked about. And I know one of the things I've loved about some of the futurists that I follow is they're focused on clean water, on food, on providing clothing. Even in this country right here, affordable housing is becoming a massive issue. And how is that going to get fixed? And what we saw was wage rates increased following COVID, but then what happened after that? Inflation doubled any of those wage increases or worse that actually occurred. And now you've got this AI thing in the mix of all this. And to your point, where are those jobs and how are those jobs going to shift? Some of the feedback indicates that the United States 10 years from now, 70% of the jobs that exist today will not exist then. Mm-hmm. And there's always been these technological revolutions that have occurred through our history, and it's always created a shift. But the question is, where do those roles go? So if 70% of them are gone, where are they going? And the second question that I've got a major issue with is, how are we helping those people reskill, retrain for whatever those new roles are going to be?
Yeah.
Instead, what's happening is a lot of these large organizations are throwing the babies out with the bathwater because they've got this mission and you no longer matter. And so those are some of the concerns I've got with these latest generation of technology. But on the flip side of it, from business owner perspective, if you don't do it, you also have to consider the risk.
Adapt or die. I mean, that's never going to go out of style. I completely agree. I'm trying to, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just trying to, I always try to keep that wall between who am I, right? I always want to lose who I am. And I think we can lose who we are when we give that up to something like AI or this whole ChatGPT movement. People just throw that into, that's it. This is where they get all of their feedback, what they want to accomplish. And I'm very sensitive to, okay, but are you losing a little bit of the uniqueness about you because of this? And if you did that on a global scale, well, that freaks me out. That really freaks me out.
It's going to be an interesting journey, isn't it?
Oh, we got no choice. Yeah, it's going to happen.
Agreed. So, final takeaway for our viewers. What would you give them as a must consideration for their journey in their life and business?
Yeah, I've been saying this a lot lately, and I'm going to keep pushing at it because I'm getting so much feedback. It's the entire concept that I learned way too late in my career, my life actually, is the finding a way to have two inner circles. You have your first inner circle, which is the family you grew up in, your community, the school you went to, all the friends and relationships that you built from the beginning. Most of the time, these people, and unless you were raised in an entrepreneurial household, odds are most entrepreneurs out there, we're really lone wolves out there trying to make it. We're trying to figure it out. We're battling each day to just go out and, eat what we kill. So with that understanding that the people around your initial inner circle, that should be a very light, friendly inner circle of people where you're sharing jokes, you're talking about memories, you're talking about passions. You should really never bring any type of work into that inner circle, and definitely don't bring any type of deals or opportunities that haven't actually closed. If you want to share anything with them, and these are people, again, that are not entrepreneurs in mindset. These are just your regular people out there working normal jobs that don't understand the way that we're wired, and they don't get the way that we're wired. Then your other inner circle is the people like you find on LinkedIn, your colleagues out there you're working with, maybe business partners. These are the ones that you share your momentum with. These are the ones that you share that you have any deals in limbo or in purgatory that haven't yet closed, and getting feedback or ideas. Because if you start sharing things that are not tangible with that first inner circle, and it's no fault of them, they're going to be asking you about it because we've opened up that door. Whatever happened to that deal with that company ABC? I thought you got this big check from this company XYZ. Oh, weren't you working with so-and-so? So now you feel very scared, right? You feel a lot of anxiety, and your home or your first inner circle, which should be a safe place to go, now that's not, because you've overshared. You've brought them into your world, which they don't understand that things take time. They don't understand that people out there will ghost you. They don't understand that a deal doesn't close or a wire doesn't come in or somebody was selling you something that they don't actually own. The craziest things in the world we all experience as entrepreneurs. So when you can figure out how to co-manage your personal life and that first inner circle and just keep that a very light and friendly environment, and if you want to share things, only share closed, done deals that you can point to in a news article, that you can point to in a check that cleared, and your other inner circle are the ones that'll be with you through all the highs and lows of being an entrepreneur and battling each day and pushing a little forward each day.
I think that is wonderfully well said. I love that concept. And I know I've made my mistakes in that particular arena. So great reinforcement. Thank you for sharing that.
I'm glad I connected with you, Ed.
I want to thank you all for joining us today, and a special thank you to our incredible guest, Brian Esposito, for sharing his insights, experiences, and business success tactics with us. We hope this conversation has left you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenge of entrepreneurship with resilience, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it's essential to define it for yourself. Take the lessons shared by Brian to heart as you navigate your own journey, and embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt to the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again to our phenomenal guest speaker, Brian Esposito, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind incredible entrepreneurs. Stay resilient and stay innovative, everyone. Have a wonderful day.